I'm Mike Rodriguez, Democratic Committeeperson of the 22nd Ward, City of Chicago. I'd like to welcome you to the 80, the Cook County Democratic Party's podcast about our organizations, our leaders, and our candidates. We are currently interviewing the party's endorsed candidates for the June 28th, 2022 primary, so you can learn more about their backgrounds and their unique stories. Today, I'm so excited to welcome my good friend, Diana López, Judge Diana López. Welcome, Judge.
Thank you, Alderman Rodriguez. I'm so happy to be here and honored to be part of the Democratic slate.
Judge López, do us a great favor. Tell us about your amazing daughter and your amazing father and your amazing husband and your amazing family and what they mean to you and how they've inspired you to run for office.
Sure, that's a good, easy start. Both my parents, immigrants, Cuba, mother, Ecuador, my father, I'm a first generation born here in the United States. And really it was their work ethic growing up and, observing them really being committed to community, to children, because they both became not only child psychologists, but then also teachers and principals in the Chicago public school system. Having observed that and having them instill in me and my siblings the work ethic and how important education was, that really drove me to not only excel in my academics, but also to make a real mark on communities and children as well. So instead of going into education, I dedicated my career to pursuing a law degree and then later building a successful law practice. I dedicated 20 years to my law practice. I started at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, honed my litigation skills there for 3.5 years, and then started my journey in private law. And what I did was I built a domestic relations, so family law, cases involving child support, divorces, very tough life transitions for people. I also then included adoption law, which are joyous transitions for families. And that was partly because I also was having a struggle with having a child. So I have a miracle baby. I was able to, at age 40, successfully have a wonderful, healthy pregnancy. I even took a spin class on the day that I was supposed to give birth to her. So she is my miracle baby. She's wonderful. She is smart. She's 7. She's already, excelling in her academics, and that's what we try to teach to her. And also, we instill in her being kind and loyal and empathetic, which are all things that I hold near and dear to my heart in the way that I not only practice law, but how I also now represent the judiciary.
She is such a cutie pie, and I love hearing this story, and I know that folks out there are going to feel touched by that amazing story. Thank you for sharing, and I think it really speaks to what you potentially bring to whatever you do, but certainly what you brought so far to the bench, and what you will bring as a full circuit court judge. To be honest, I was knocking on doors and engaging in the electoral process for years without being engaged or involved or really understanding the importance of a judge. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Why is it so important to elect diverse judges from different backgrounds, judges who maybe have your life story, one that's so amazing and an immigrant story and a story of that you just shared that was so personal? Why is that so important to bring to the judiciary?
So it is crucial to have a qualified, diverse bench to really reflect the constituents of Cook County. And it is difficult because, we have such a diverse voter pool, and Latinos are probably one of the largest represented communities in Cook County. However, on the bench, we are wholly underrepresented, not only as Latinos, but also as Latina women. So looking at those numbers, and there are various processes, but the 2 processes that I have now embarked on are the associate judge process, which I am currently a sitting associate judge, and I was elected by the current full circuit judges. And the full circuit judges are the ones that get voted in by the constituents, which is what I'm trying to do to also continue to help. Yes.
Could you briefly tell us what's that difference between what's the power that a full circuit court elected judge has and the associate might not have?
So in terms of power dynamics, for me, it's the fact that you can really add to the qualified diversity of the bench by being part of that electoral process with not only vetting, but also voting for qualified candidates in the associate judge process. There are between 250 to 300 applicants when Judge Evans opens his application process for associates candidates. And I was extremely humbled to have been chosen to be part of the shortlist process, and even more humbled to have been picked as an associate judge. However, again, the very distinct responsibilities of a full circuit judge is to be able to vote for those associate candidates that may not have either the financial ability or the other potential resources that they would not be able to pursue this kind of election and be part of the slating process and the traversing the county for various months to be able to get the support of the Democratic Party. And also another very important distinction is that as a full circuit judge, we also can participate in the voting of the chief judge.
And these are all important attributes and distinctions between the associate and circuit court full circuit process. I think one of the other things is typically those who rise in the ranks tend to be the circuit court judges, right? And it's important to have a diverse group of folks as full circuit court judges. And that's why I'm so excited about your candidacy. We need to be electing particularly underrepresented groups to these positions. And I think you as a Latina, Latinx, female, I think you're not just checking boxes, you're really turning over the table in many respects, but you're doing it and you've been found qualified by absolutely every bar group and by every association and by everyone who you knock a door on. Tell us more about how you became qualified and what that process was like.
So you first decide that you can do two routes at once, like I did. I applied for the associate process, and once you do that, you trigger getting vetted by the bar associations. There are a consortium of associations, bar associations, that are known as the Alliance. And they created that alliance, again, also to create more diversity on the bench. And so you go through that application process, which is a pretty strenuous application process. I think once I finally completed my entire application, it was about 80 pages of single-spaced information about my whole 20 years of life in the private practice of law, and in the beginning as a Cook County State's Attorney. And then you get interviewed, and much like this, I was interviewed over Zoom. So, you really lose a lot of that in-person personality, but I was successful, and I am just, you don't get to be on the short list really unless you have all of those bar associations. Again, I was very humbled that I was able to get qualified and recommended ratings by all of the bar associations. And then the Chicago Bar Association does a separate vetting process, and the Chicago Bar Association also found me qualified.
So I'm going to stop geeking out. We've talked enough about the technical parts of this, but I would love to get to know you a little bit more. And I feel like I know you so well, but I want others to get to know you so well as well. So let's go back to your family. Tell me, what would your family say about who Diana López is?
Again, I think I go back to being very loyal. I am loyal. I am kind. I am dedicated. And with that comes a very big commitment to strong work ethic in whatever I do. So it's not just my job. It's as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter. So those things are just very important to me to just do the best I can. We're all human, we all make mistakes, but you learn from those mistakes. And those are also really important life lessons as well.
I've been doing a little bit of reading, and I noticed that you've been published a number of times regarding your work and things that you've either studied or worked on principally or made decisions on. I'm wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more about the work you've done and what you've been published on.
Sure. So when I started thinking about what I wanted to write, the best thing to do is to write about something that you really are interested in or something that you really care about. So I chose the topics of adoption or different topics in the world of adoption. And one of the things that I'm really proud of is being part of the international law chapter of the ICL, which is a manual that practitioners use to guide them in their practice. And within that particular chapter, I helped author what's called the Special Immigrant Juvenile Status explanation and how practitioners can navigate their court proceedings. So it was really interesting because the way that I implemented using that special immigrant juvenile status law was that basically I would file petitions to have a judge declare the child to either have been abused, neglected, or abandoned, either in this country or somewhere near, traveling to the country, and then they were either placed with a parent, so one of the parents, or a family member, or a loving family, maybe placed through places like Catholic Charities, where the child needed to have that declaration in a court order to be able to then help with their immigrant status, with their legal status here in this country. So those were some of the happiest moments as a practitioner when I helped those children and those families, and some of the also most joyous times that I remember judges being so happy to sign those court orders, because that meant that those kids had hope and those kids were going to be able to pursue an education. Most of the time, talking to those children, they just wanted to be able to go to school, high school, college, go on to medical school or law school. And that was just an amazing feeling. So
Judge
those
López,
are the things that I wrote about because I had passion for them.
It is so obvious, given your first comments around your family, your parents being immigrants, and now talking about what you do and what you published on, particularly children, and you published on immigrants. It seems to be a recurring theme. And then what you represent potentially as the daughter of immigrants, being on the bench, I just find this path for you to be so clear and so interesting. Could you elaborate a little bit more about the special circumstances that juveniles or children may encounter with the system, and also potentially what immigrants potentially encounter in the system?
Sure. Probably one of my first experiences in my career was when I was in juvenile court in the Child Protection Division, which is where you actually were initially was the only place that you could get this status as a special immigrant juvenile. So as an immigrant child who obviously who doesn't have also parents, either anybody who's willing to or able to step in the parent role, the DCFS system and the children in care was just not in the best light when I had that experience. So that was really one of the first early on experiences that I had, which is what I used as my drive and my commitment to then implement the things that I wanted to accomplish in private practice. And luckily, the laws started to change. So initially, the children had to only be found abandoned, or they had to be found abandoned, neglected, or abused by both parents. And the law changed so that it would be only one parent, so that if even that child was with one of their legal biological parents, then you could still pursue getting that finding of special immigrant juvenile status, which doesn't help the parent, but does help that child be able to stay in the United States.
What is it that you would love for voters to know about Judge Diana López and why they should vote for you?
Excuse me, I am dedicated. I am dedicated, committed to the qualified representation on the judiciary. I put on my robe every day with the most humility, with the most respect for every single person that comes into my courtroom. I currently am assigned to the traffic division, where I listen to minor and then what they call major misdemeanor traffic violations. And everyone who comes into my courtroom deserves to have their voice heard and to be able to tell their side of the story. And even if it's just on a status, and even if I have to sometimes interrupt them and say, you know, we're going to get to that when we have a hearing or when we have a trial. But that is really important to me, that everybody feels that they've been heard, that they've been well respected. I have had the pleasure of serving the community and the constituents of Cook County now since October 2021 from the bench. And I've had nothing but wonderful experiences. And some on my best days, I get to marry people, which is really fun. So people come in very, very happy and excited. And some of them are done on Zoom. Some of them are done in person. I actually was the assigned judge on February 22nd, 2022. So the 22 was a very big day for people to get married. I was on Zoom, but I was on the news because of that. They had a nice expose of all the people that were getting married, and everyone was very happy.
So Judge Lopez, we're coming to the end of this interview, but it's apropos that we're also coming to the end of this campaign season. The fact is, I feel like I've been there as one of your earliest supporters, and seeing you throughout this campaign trail. And again, it must be wild that we're coming to the end here. Mm-hmm. Could you point out some moments or a moment that you can remember on this campaign trail that's really stuck out to you, that maybe you'd like others to hear about?
Sure. You know, just meeting everyone. You know, I've been traversing the county many times, if not always, with my father, who is one of my biggest supporters and cheerleaders, and with my daughter and with my husband. You know, meeting all of the wonderful elected officials, all of the voters, all of the people who have supported and encouraged my race. And I just, you know, I'm so proud of being part of this process, humbled every moment. I pinch myself every morning when I wake up before I go to, you know, there's never a feeling of, I don't want to go to work. And it's really important to have that perspective on people who are on the bench and who really are looking forward to seeing the people that are coming into courtrooms, because we're the first people that most people who are elected are going to see. So, and we're going to be making very important decisions based on the lives of everyone. And a lot of our decisions will impact many of the other aspects of the litigant's life. So, that's, you know, going back to your other question about what I want the voters to remember me, or how I want them to remember me. That is part of it. And I really hope to earn as many votes as I can on June 28th, 2022. My punch number is 167. And Lopez, I hope, is going to take the win.
Well, you got a great ballot name. You've got a great trajectory here. I remember over a year ago hearing from my good friend Rudy Lozano. He's like, hey, did you hear Fausto's daughter's in? I was like, Fausto, my guys. I remember him from the longest time. But more importantly, getting to know you and seeing you on the campaign trail, you've really worked hard for the party. You've worked hard also demonstrating who you are and why it's so important to punch 167 for Diana Lopez. Judge Lopez, thank you so much for being with us. On behalf of the Cook County Democratic Party, we are very proud to support you. This is the Executive Vice Chair of the Cook County Democratic Party, Mike Rodriguez, signing off for the 80. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. Gracias.
A usted.